Dun 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 dun. Hi guys, this is Nonocat again, and today we're bringing you a review on the Northeast Sten MK2. This is the long branch Chinese variant, and let's get into it. So the Sten guns all come in actually the same box. Looks the same essentially, with minor differences on the marking variants. So this one here, we can see we've got the long branch 1943 versions. And today we will be looking particularly at the Chinese variant, and it's actually got the Chinese markings. So the first word actually in phonetics means Shiten, which means Sten. But let's open it up and take a look inside. So inside we've got the menu as well as the parts list. Important note is to always read the menu before you even attempt to use it or assemble it, particularly the Sten gun. So a few things to note is that the gun actually comes disassembled and in a unassembled form, so you will need to actually assemble it. And one of the notes particularly is to not shoot it before you have the stock installed. One of the other things is to make sure you don't fill the magazines more than 7 seconds. But let's go ahead and assemble that. So out of the box, let's assemble it. So we have the main unit itself. I usually prefer to lock this back. And we've got to put that magwell into position, just like all the other ones we've done before. So ideally you pull that pin out there, and then you rotate the magwell. So ideally you want the pin to lock into place, and sometimes it doesn't angle properly. You might need to redo it or use a rubber mallet to get it into place. So make sure that's locked into place before you start firing it, and your handguard shouldn't rotate if it's locked properly. And basically the stock. Good to go. So last but not least, we've got the magazine, and there's a little note at the bottom which says do not overfill for more than 7 seconds. Make sure you follow the notes, and let's give it a go and shoot it. So we're here at the ASGC range. Let's give the accuracy test a go. We've got a 10 meters range here, and I'm going to shoot some 2.5. I guess we're doing a full auto test. Let's give it a go. So it seems like we had one shot right on the dot and just went everywhere else. But then again, it's a Sten gun. Let's give the semi-auto test a go right now. Now the accuracy test in semi-auto for real. Once again, 0.25 millimeters. So that's the 10 meters with semi-auto. We've got all 10 shots on that A4 paper there. So as you can see, I've got a small size hand and it's pretty much all in there. We've a couple down on the 10 and the 9s. So very good accuracy, which we've seen an improvement over the last 2 Stens. Not sure if I've got better at shooting or maybe the gun's just better. So let's give the gas efficiency a try. Got this mag already pre-filled with gas with some propane, and as the instruction says, not more than 7 seconds. And let's give it a go. So that's 33, but one without BB. Fill it up again. So like all gas blowback mags, I like to remove the last BB out of it so that you don't overfill it and damage the nozzle. That's about 48 shots with 1 fill of gas. So that was the gas efficiency test in semi-auto. Let's give it a try in full auto. Now this is an open bolt system, and basically there's no bolt stop, so you won't know when you've finished shooting unless you get that follower change to have it stop. But we don't have that, so we might have to figure out when we finish. Let's give it a go. So, auto. Awesome. So that finished the entire mag and probably a little bit more. Nope, that's out. Test number 2 again was the fully auto test. Just fill that out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Right. Yikes, that went full auto by itself. Let's try again. So take number 3 on the fully auto test. We had some full auto issue. I believe the magazine was just a bit too cold. And we've just lubricated the gun, and let's give it a go. So this is another mag. Let's fill it up with green gas, propane, 7 seconds. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oops. Okay, 8 seconds. Let's give it a go. good. We'll finish those rounds and a lot much more. Let's put it in semi, see how many shots we have. So it seems like the gas efficiency is good. With the previous one, I believe the mags were just a bit too cold and the piston needed some lubricating. And there we go. I think we're out of gas. So just like all the Northeast Sten guns, we made of full steel, very immaculate pieces, barrel steel, handguard steel, sights, front sight, basically all the little notches, levers, all steel. The bolt itself is aluminum, but the charging handle is steel. And if we go further, such as the lower casing, the trigger, the selector, even the stock, as well as the little piece there, it's all steel. So a very nice piece. And with the magazine, one solid block of steel, once again. So we'll look at some differences with the Sten MK2 long branch version compared to the Sten MK5 and the Sten MK2S. So here we've got the long branch version, the Chinese variant in pieces. So first things we notice is with the differences with the MK2S is this hop chamber is actually different. So it's made of aluminum. So they actually started doing that on the Sten MK5 itself, as you can see. Whereas the MK2S had a steel one, the newer ones seem to have aluminum. So that's one of the minor differences. Now with the differences between the MK2 and the MK2S, it's pretty much that, you know, one runs a handguard like that, one runs a suppressor system. Now the barrel itself is actually the same, but the inner barrel is much longer. So if you're wanting to put a suppressor handguard onto the MK2, you could do that, but you would need to actually run a longer inner barrel so you don't actually shoot the inside of the suppressor. So that's just one of them. Now with the differences between the MK2 and the MK5, we did notice that the bolt traveling is different from the MK2S to the Sten. So the same applies for the MK2. So the MK2 is similar to the MK2S. Reason for that is the MK5 actually has a longer buffer, whereas the MK2 and the MK2S doesn't have that. Probably to accommodate the trigger system, the trigger itself being moved forward for the pistol grip. And other differences, we can't seem to find any. They seem to be the same across internally. So spring seems to be the same length. The bolt itself, the sights, the finishing, that's the MK5, just being darker. Otherwise seems to be the same. And overall finishing, I did realize that the Sten MK5 seems to be a lot nicer, a lot darker, and I'm not quite sure if they paid more attention to the actual finishing itself, but it does look nicer, whereas the Sten MK2 seems to be more rough around the edges, which is quite a nice touch if you're trying to go for you know, reenactment and all that, because the original gun was actually made you know, in a rush. So notable differences. So are the parts cross-compatible? We've had that question before. The answer is internally yes, except for the buffer itself. The Sten MK5 buffer has a longer buffer, so that might cause the bolt not to reset the trigger and not cycle properly. So we don't recommend that. But otherwise, the entire handguard system is cross-compatible. So you can actually fit a Mark V handguard onto it, as well as the barrel. The stock isn't compatible, however, because of the angle of this piece there. Otherwise, internally, they're all essentially the same. And of course, you can put the Mark IIS suppressor on that. So essentially, with the assembly and disassembly, it's the same as the Mark IIS as well as the Mark V, but let's put it back together and have a look. So inserting that, let's put the handguard on first actually. So we've got the barrel, and the hop adjustments should be facing under, and it should slide in. There's only one way. Handguard goes on, and you hear it locking into place. There we go. Now put that bolt in. You can see this little section there for the charging handle. Now with this, when you're trying to put that back in, you would actually have to pull that trigger down for it to slide into place. Now with this piece, right on that middle section there, we'll just lock that into place. And when it reaches here, pull the trigger again to release it forward. Now, spring and the buffer itself, a little cap on there. And if you just rotate that to lock it into place, and there goes the stock. Pretty easy. Now with the disassembly, basically the other way around. Fairly simple design. Bang, 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 bang. So that was pretty fun. To conclude the review, the Sten MK2 new variant, Chinese variant, seems to be performing pretty well. Gas efficiency is great. We are able to do the full mag dump and shoot it in semi really consistently. Chrono seems to give good results. In terms of accuracy, I'm not quite sure if I'm getting better at shooting this, but it seems to be performing much better than the other two Sten guns we reviewed. Now, in conclusion, with the finishing outer and inner, the inner parts are the same, and it seems to share the same hop chamber as the Sten MK5, which is now aluminum, whereas the old Sten MK2S seems to have the steel chamber. Other than that, everything else seems to be the same. Externally, we did realize that the finishing is a little bit more rougher on the Sten MK2. I don't have the original Sten MK2 to compare, but comparing to the MK2S and the Sten MK5, we did realize that the Sten MK5 does have a much nicer finishing. It also looks a little bit darker and more refined. So it's pretty good for reenactors out there who's after a more authentic replica. And basically, to conclude the review, which Sten would you pick actually? So would it be the MK2S for your covert ops, or the more refined Sten MK5 with the wooden furnitures and the foregrip? Or would it be one of the Sten MK2s in T-stock or skeleton stock configuration? So leave us a comment, which is your poison, and let us know why. This is Nonocat, and that's Thunder Spear. Thank you for watching.
Sorry. 3, 2, 1.
You're on video.
Hey, I'm just posing.
Hi guys, this is Nonocat, and today we'll be doing a review on the Northeast Sten MK2 long branch Chinese variant. Let's check it out. One more.